Representative Katie Porter has been refusing to take Republican BS for as long as she's been in Congress.
See if you can find a way for her to live on less than the minimum that I've described.
Just be helpful.
Well, I appreciate your desire to be helpful, but what I'd like you to do is provide a way for families to make ends meet so that little kids who are 6 years old living in a one-bedroom apartment with their mother aren't going hungry at night because they're $567 short from feeding themselves, clothing them. We allow no money for clothing. We allow no money for school lunches. We allow no money for field trips, no money for medical, no money for prescription drugs, nothing. And she's short $567 already. Mr. Diamond, you know how to spend $31 million a year in salary, and you can't figure out how to make up a $567 a month shortfall. This is a budget problem you cannot solve.
With us, she does get full medical. We pay 90% of it. Correct. And we also give people—
No deductible?
There's a deductible, but for people doing their wellness programs, okay, we give the people making under $60,000 a year a $750 account.
Correct.
And effectively, they have no deductible.
That's why I didn't put any medical in, Mr. Diamond. I read that in your shareholder report. That's why I didn't include any medical expenses, but she's still short $567, as are all of your employees in Irvine, California. Any ideas? Also like you to get back to me, if you don't mind, to explain the disparity in REO rates. Do you know what an REO is?
An Oreo?
No, not an Oreo, an REO, R-E-O.
Real estate?
What's the O stand for?
E organization?
Owned, real estate owned. That's what happens when a property goes to foreclosure. We call it an REO. Mm-hmm. And FHA loans have much higher REOs. That is, they go to foreclosure rather than to loss mitigation or to non-foreclosure alternatives like short sales than comparable loans at the GSEs. So I'd like to know why we're having more foreclosures that end in people losing their homes with stains to their credit and disruption to their communities and their neighborhoods at FHA than we are at the GSEs. The reality is the focus of the bill on the audit piece is on big corporations. It's on cracking down on corporate tax cheats. And here's how that math works. For every dollar that we invest in IRS enforcement of the most wealthy Americans and the largest corporations with an army of lawyers and accountants to do their bidding, we can recover $5 in taxes that are owed to the rest of us. And ultimately, this kind of investment is going to let us have a more stable tax structure going forward.
If I could just, for the record, say I would not take Congresswoman Porter's investment opportunity because it's investing with other people's money, and it's making choices that they might not themselves want to make with those dollars.
I want to start by talking about other people's money, because last time I checked, that's all we spend is the American people's money. That's actually the function of Congress. And there are no dollars that we spend that do not come from the American people. So the argument that we shouldn't do something because it's spending other people's money would simply suggest that we don't spend any money at all, including zeroing out the defense budget. Is that in fact what you were suggesting, Dr. Burke, that we zero out the defense budget so that we don't spend other people's money?
No, but it is the case that
I'm reclaiming my time.
You are spending other people's money.
Always.
And that those choices need to reflect what most Americans want.
Okay.
Most Americans do not
Reclaiming
want
my time, Mr. Chair.
universal child
Reclaiming
care.
my time. Senator Vance's hypothetical says that one parent might prefer to stay home. That's probably true. There's a lot of statistics that show that parents, men and women, have different preferences at different points in time. But what about the 10 million single moms? Where do they fit? Dr. Burke, where did you put your children in childcare?
Well, I'm not going to bring my children into this hearing, so it doesn't have any bearing on this. So
Dr. Burke, do you have children?
I do.
So I'm sharing my story because my story is one that doesn't get heard in this Congress. Because do you know how many single moms there are?
One or two?
One. Childcare, custodial care to help people who may choose all kinds of different options. I've had full-time care. I've had 3/4 care. I had when I had a spouse, he stayed home some years. That was how we fit the pieces together. But that's what this hearing is about, not jamming one size fits all. But if there isn't the money, there won't be the choice. That's why we see married parents saying they would prefer to stay home because they have the option to stay home. Single parents don't say they'd rather stay home because they couldn't. So our whole perspective here is warped by the fact that this body is so disproportionately unrepresentative of the American people's experience.
It was her stance against companies exploiting workers, consumers, and taxpayers that caught the attention of Silicon Valley.
I want to turn to a different issue. Facebook's known as a great place to work, free food, ping pong tables, great employee benefits, but Facebook doesn't use its employees for the hardest jobs in the company. You've got about 15,000 contractors watching murders, stabbings, suicides, other gruesome, disgusting videos for content moderation, correct?
Congressman, yes, I believe that that's correct.
You pay many of those workers under $30,000 a year, and you've cut them off from mental health care when they leave the company, even if they have PTSD because of their work for your company. Is that correct?
Congresswoman, my understanding is we pay everyone, including the contractors associated with the company, at least a $15 minimum wage. And in markets and cities where there's a high cost of living, that's a $20 minimum wage. We go out of our way to offer a lot of
Thank you. I take your word at the
mental
wage.
health.
Reclaiming my time. According to one report I have, and this is straight out of an episode of Black Mirror, these workers get nine minutes of supervised wellness time per day. That means 9 minutes to cry in the stairwell while somebody watches them. Would you be willing to commit to spending 1 hour a day for the next year watching these videos and acting as a content monitor and only accessing the same benefits available to your workers?
Congresswoman, we work hard to make sure that we give good benefits to all the folks who are doing this.
Mr. Zuckerberg, reclaiming my time, I would appreciate a yes or a no. Would you be willing to act as a content monitor, to have that life experience?
I'm not sure that it would best serve our community for me to spend that much
Reclaiming
time.
my time. Mr.
I
Zuckerberg,
spend a lot of time
reclaiming my
looking at
time.
this content.
Mr. Zuckerberg, are you saying you're not qualified to be a content monitor?
No, Congresswoman, that's not what I'm saying.
Okay, then you're saying you're not willing to.
A California tech super PAC, ironically called Fair Shake, has been busy pumping money into attack ads targeting Republicans and Democrats who are perceived as being anti-crypto or pro-tech regulation. This PAC spent over $2 million to oust Jamal Bowman, almost $1.5 million to defeat Cory Bush, and over $10 million to end Katie Porter's Senate bid. Katie Porter gave up her congressional seat to run for Senate and lost in no small part due to that money. Hopefully she finds a new home because she's a progressive voice the Democrats desperately need.